Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bedomy and this is Starcraft Mass Recall, a remake of the original Starcraft and its subsequent expansions in the Starcraft 2 level editor. And welcome aboard the Hyperion, the Rebellion's command ship. From here, we will launch our offensive against the Confederate capital world of Tarsonis. Since the majority of Confederate forces were destroyed on Antigua Prime by the Zerg, we don't have to worry about enemy reinforcements, but the Zerg threat remains. Because of that, Mengsk called us in to formulate a strategy that will help us overtake Tarsonis quickly and keep us in fighting shape if the need arises.
Greetings, Commander. Receiving incoming transmission.
The time of our final strike against the Confederacy is close at hand. Before we can strike at Tarsonis itself, however, we must break through the Confederacy's most potent defenses. General Duke will brief you.
I've defended Tarsonis in over 30 major battles, so I know its defenses inside and out. There are 3 primary orbital platforms that serve as staging areas for the Confederate fleet. If we assault the central platform, we should cause enough of a ruckus to allow a small force to break through the planetary defenses.
General, I'm impressed. I never figured you for the frontal assault type.
Well, the Confederates have Omega and Delta Squadron troops defending the platform. But they're nothing compared to my Alpha Squadron boys.
Right.
At the very least, we know what we're dealing with. But I doubt we'll have to do a full frontal assault. Since the General knows the area, he can probably show us a few points of interest. Yikes! That's a position. A heavily fortified position that we have to take. With a battlecruiser, 3 rates, and a handful of soldiers.
Call the shot.
This is going to end well. The only thing missing here is a bottle of vodka and one of those small glasses that you use to take shots. What do you call them?
I can't believe this. Alpha Squadron never would have left this equipment behind. That's what I call sloppy.
Shot glasses, I think. Anyway, let's focus on creating a base. We probably have some breathing room to set everything up. Everything important is mapped to something, so let's just land the buildings and start producing.
What?
We'll send our flyers up ahead to scout the area and protect us from any incoming attacks. At the moment our buildings touch the ground, we'll set up some rally points and start producing, or researching. It's a good thing that the enemy left in a hurry, and now we don't have to waste time and resources on building our own add-ons. And now we just have to worry about research and unit production. And that will go a lot faster if we start gathering resources. Since the enemy already knows we're here and is already attacking us, we should concentrate on building our defenses. Oh, I didn't notice this ghost. Which is good. They're supposed to be invisible. To the enemy, not us. Unless his name is Waldo. Then he's supposed to be invisible for everyone. Before he nukes everything. For that reason, I think we should keep our ghosts inside the dropship and simply drop them behind the enemy. With a well-placed nuke, we can disrupt their production and weaken their defenses, which will allow us to move in quickly and secure the area. But that will probably be shown in the next episode. For now, let's focus on defenses and research, and the discussion of future Let's Plays. As you're probably aware, I tend to split longer chapters into multiple episodes, which ruins the narrative of the game, and it's also quite frustrating for anyone who's watching the Let's Play in real time. They see the beginning of the mission, and then have to wait for 2 weeks in order to see the middle, and then another 2 weeks to see the ending. While that might work in professional wrestling where you see the commercials and the build-up before the match, it doesn't apply well to Let's Plays, most of them at least. In case of strategy games, you have the excuse that the battles lasted for days, hours, maybe even months. But in case of shooters and action games, you are put in the middle of events that have to be resolved within a specific time period. The games create a sense of urgency that forces... well, forces is a strong word. Encourage. That would be more accurate. You are encouraged to follow a certain path to victory. And while that sentence might seem filthy at the first glance, or hearing in this case, there is a deeper meaning to it. In order to understand this meaning, we have to ask ourselves one question.
Not enough minerals.
What makes a game interesting and fun? Is it the graphical or audio presentation? Is it just the gameplay? Is it the lore and the ability to visit other worlds? Or a combination of everything? What do you think? Is it just that, or is there something more to it? Do we simply play games to immerse ourselves in a fantasy that will allow us to be something that we're not in the real world? Do we want to challenge ourselves in certain activities? Or do we just want to discuss some aspects of the game with other people?
Right away, sir.
While the answers might vary from person to person, they are all correct. We love playing games because they're a good combination of rule sets, mechanics, and presentation. We might prioritize one thing over the others, but without the whole package we would get bored very soon. Without them, we couldn't bring ourselves to finish the games we're playing. Or more accurately, we wouldn't be able to solve the problems presented to us by the developers. For what is a game but a series of problems we have to solve? And now that I hear myself saying that, I realize how cringy that sounds. But the point still remains. You cannot make a game without an end goal in mind. In most cases, it's simply get from point A to point B and occasionally do something C. And that is the basic premise of any walking simulator. In order to make things interesting, the developers put different obstacles in your path, as well as the necessary resources to deal with those obstacles. And then they let you loose on the map for a minute or two, and then you're dragged into a corridor that the developers want you to follow. While that in itself isn't too much of a problem, it's the execution that the people have problem with.
Orders received.
Instead of leaving clues for us to follow, the developers tell us the whole solution and then push us towards the level's exit, which kills a lot of the game's fun. Just to clarify, I am not saying that every game is guilty of this, but it is a common occurrence among big budget titles. Take a look at Grand Theft Auto or Far Cry, for example.
Minerals.
You are free to do anything on the map as long as it's not related to the story. But the moment you touch a story-related mission, you are forced down a narrow corridor and you have to do a specific action at a specific time. Instead of letting the player use the mechanics and rule sets of the game to their advantage, the developers change the rules in order to force the player to play at a specific playstyle. For example, I'm a terrible driver, in both real and virtual world. I had to take my driver's exam 4 times, both in theory and practice. So as you can imagine, I'm not very keen on driving in video games. If I can, I leave the driving to the NPCs, or simply use the fast travel system. But then comes a mission where I'm forced to drive a specific vehicle on a specific route without damaging the vehicle or within a specific time limit. Or in most cases, all of these conditions are mixed up into one big bag of human chocolate. You have to drive through an area that's populated with hostiles that will recognize you at some point, and then turn the rest of the mission into one big chase sequence. And if you attempt to avoid the enemy-infested roads, you will witness some of nature's most rarest occurrences. To name a few, we have sudden vehicular self-combustion, sudden growth spurts of inanimate objects and population, which will mix well with your newly developed gravity field. We could continue, but I think you get the point. The developers simply don't have the confidence in their players to solve the problems they created, so they take you by the hand and pull you towards a solution. And that tends to ruin the game's experience. Instead of letting the player plan out his approach to the mission, they put you in the middle of high-octane situations that do provide the necessary enjoyment on the first playthrough, but at the end of it, you don't feel any satisfaction. At the very least, you feel like a little kid or a trained animal. You performed everything that was required of you, and then got a pat on the back, maybe a cookie, and then sent off somewhere else to play on your own. And that's the problem. Your way of thinking isn't acknowledged. And if it is acknowledged, you're usually penalized for it. And now that I think about it, this situation can be viewed as a typical mathematical problem you have in schools. We all know that mathematical problems only have one correct solution, but there are different formulas we can use to solve the problem. Take a look at the map. As you can see, our base is surrounded. We have to deal with 2 armies that will attack us periodically, so our first option is to simply build up defenses and let the enemy waste their resources on attacking us. But that strategy is usually boring, not to mention pointless since the enemy tends to have limitless supplies. So our second choice is to simply build up an army and attack the Black Base, which is heavily guarded and can be reinforced relatively quickly. While the second option is the most well-known and frequently used one, there is also a third option. If you bypass the Black Base, you will find an expansion that can be overtaken easily. Once you overtake the expansion, create an army and attack the Black Base from behind. They won't have any defenses there, so it should be an easy victory. Alright, and now that we all know the plan, I'll end the episode here and prepare the base for the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. My name has been... Wait! I forgot something. Actually, I forgot two things. You will encounter a black starport on the way to the expansion, so take a few flyers to protect yourself. And a science vessel or two to detect cloaked units. Actually, let's just destroy the starport and create a pocket base. That way we can prevent any attempts to rebuild the starport, and we can also send some forces to harass the Black Base. And finally, the second, which was supposed to be the first thing I wanted to address, will be addressed. The future of Let's Plays on this channel. Due to the fact that I record commentary separate from gameplay, it takes me a while to produce another Let's Play episode. And for that I apologize. In order to make up for the gaps between Let's Play episodes, I am going to start a new Let's Play series with little to no commentary. I will explain what I mean by that in the next video. I am ending the video here because the footage you're seeing is a recording of a failed gameplay session. The game crashed again and corrupted the save file, so I have to redo the whole mission from the start. Until next time, my name has been Bedomy, thank you very much for watching and good night.